Hi, my name is Mike, and welcome back to That Old Shop. I'm about to show you what has been going on lately. So what's going on now? Take you in here and show you some things. I got this compact utility tractor that I've been using like a piece of construction equipment. I removed a lot of material, as I've said in a lot of other videos, down by the creek down there. I widened that area. I had piles of material all over that area of the property. Down there by the barn, I flattened all that out, sorted out a lot of rocks, picked up a lot of rocks, buckets and buckets. What I mean by buckets is tractor buckets. Got my bucket off, it's over here, but my wife and I have filled that many times with rocks. Then we've raked out a lot of rocks to try to get ready for planting grass. Took all my topsoil that I had scraped off from around the shop here. Well, you see that bare ground, that was topsoil I scraped off and I had piled up here. I was holding on to it until we got to this point down here where we could get ready to plant grass. And the reason why we need to plant grass down there, because all the material I took out of the creek area to deepen it and widen it, I put up here to build this out farther. It's hard to tell because it's all one color now, but it's higher on the right where the bush is. I'm walking downhill now. Well, that's a difference of probably about maybe 5 feet from that bush down to here. And there's probably another 4 feet or so down to the bottom of the creek bed here. So where this is grass, where the grass ends and all this dirt is here, I removed all the material that was up to the height of this grass. So removed all that material and moved it up there to make that higher and build that out, because since we've moved here, we've only been here about 16-17 months, I think. This has been totally flooded a couple times. This creek has overflowed way up here. So that's why we put the material here to build this up more. Again, it's probably about 4 feet from where the birdhouse is to down here where the grass starts. Probably about a 4 foot difference. So this is the topsoil all spread out on top of some sandy soil. And we have to rake this out now, get this ready for the actual grass seed that we'll be planting to try to hold all this material there. So when it floods, it'll flood up onto the grass and all the ground will be held in place by the grass. And the water will just flow over this like it's flowing over a carpet. And it won't really tear things up. It won't really remove material because it's covered by vegetation, by the roots from the grass plant. Zoom me out some more. But this morning since I dumped piles of topsoil all around and then started smoothing them out, I still got some little knobs or whatever of soil. I'm gonna just take a wood pallet and drag it across here to try to knock that down more, try to flatten it out more before I go to raking this all out by hand. I have a rock rake, but what I want to remove here to prepare for a seed bed is too small for the rock rake to pull out of there. So I have some garden rakes and a landscape rake, a hand manual landscape rake. I'm going to rake all this out in sections and get it planted in grass seed, maybe a little wildflowers right there on that darker spot that's a little steeper, be a little harder to mow. And yeah, just keep on going so I can get this creek stuff put behind me. I still have more to do on that side over there. I'll walk you over that way, but that was all eroding away from the creek, because the creek comes onto my property at kind of an angle. My neighbor's property here kind of comes on my property on an angle, and so it was kind of a glancing blower path against that side of the creek. So I've been putting a lot of rock in there. I still have a lot of big rock to put down there. Got to extend the big rock there to fill in that gap. And then put another layer of big rock on top of those big rocks, but set back a little bit on the material that I'm backfilling down behind there. So looking into the morning sun, right where that glare is on the screen, that's where the edge of this bank is going to be now. Going to finish putting large rocks here, backfill it behind the large rocks, put another row of large rocks on top of those, but offset back a little bit, and gradually smaller rocks going up the bank. And then the top, probably the top third, will get planted with grass. There'll be exposed rip wrap rocks and stones all the way down to that tree there. But I've been saving a lot of my larger rocks. These are kind of medium and small rocks in that pile. Got some over there by the dog. And here. Got piles of rocks all around. So like I started this video, saying that I've been treating that compact utility tractor like a piece of construction equipment with all that I've been using it for. I've been digging with it, bulldozing with it, carrying and flipping big rocks. So it's been put through the paces. I had the four-wheel drive go out and had to replace the front axle early on after I bought it. I bought it used. I'm the third owner of it. But now recently I've had another issue with it that I'll show you. There's some more rocks. There's my foot. I have a size 15, so that's how big those rocks are. A lot of the larger ones we put over here around our fire pit. So to get some of that glare out of there picture. Some of the larger ones we put around here. We Put a berm behind it with some evergreens in it. Red cedar trees, actually. And the rest is wildflowers all around it underneath this straw, which we've been trying to get them to germinate. Should be popping up pretty soon. And these material mats, I still got to move these out of here. I was using those down in the softer areas to try to get that utility tractor out there more to either push or pick some material out of the creek. Got a fire ready to go. Got to seed all this. All this on this side of the creek, all that on that side of the creek. That's the biggest seeding job I've ever done, so. Like I said, we've had to do a lot of manual raking to get the stones and sticks and rubble out of there to prepare a seed bed. And I have my right wrist, I have a plate and screws in there from an automobile accident 20 years ago. I've had a few symptoms that crop up using my arms from that and from a work injury after that automobile accident. But this raking, I've never done this amount of raking before, and the raking is really giving me a problem right where the plate and screws are in my wrist. So I've had to pace myself when I wanted to go and get this done so I can get back to working on the shop and in the shop. Like I said, we've moved here 16 months ago. I don't really have my shop set up, insulated, electrical. I have so much to do in there I'd rather be doing than putzing around with the creek here. But I'm getting there. I gotta keep going. I can't give up. If we get a flood, it'll take us backwards, and everything we've done and money we've spent will have to be done and spent again. Because if all this gets washed away, washed around into a big mess again, that wouldn't be good. I'll show you what's going on with the LS tractor. There's another tractor. I borrowed a friend's tractor to get some of this done because my loader is busted on my tractor. Here's some trailer carnage I showed in another video. Kind of hard to tell with these shadows, but I was loading some large pieces of firewood on here, and I had too many pieces piled up on the loader, and one started to fall off, and I tried to catch it with the loader, and I lowered the loader right down onto my fender here and smushed it. So that's not good. That'll be a hard one to get out because of where it's at. Get some other ones around here. This is where I bumped it with the brush guard on the tractor. It's gonna be hard to tell in this light, but right there. There we go. Picks it up a little better. And of course, like usual, caught the edge of the fender on a piece of wood. But the tractor's in here. I mean, I can still use the 3-point. I still can drive the tractor. But the loader is bustido. I'll show you right here where the lift cylinder for the whole boom. This is actually broken off there. And that side over there is completely gone. So I have to fashion some plates. I'm trying to think of, this is only 1/8" steel here. This is just a 25 horsepower tractor. This is just 1/8" steel here though. I would think that would be thicker. Especially at this point right here. So I'm gonna lay another piece of metal on here, weld, tack all this back in, weld that all in there. Maybe even weld something from side to side here to help support it. I think side to side will have to be down here actually, because the cylinder will be here. And I don't want anything interfering with the cylinder. The lift cylinders goes from this pin, this point, to this point. Nothing wrong with the cylinders. I haven't bent them at all. I do a lot of back dragging with this tractor loader. And I haven't bent the cylinders up by the bucket. Just that this area here fatigued and just broke away. I was flipping a big rock over, rolling it over with the bottom of the bucket. And that cylinder over there let loose completely. And then I noticed as I was taking it apart, this side over here was cracked. And I've been greasing this thing every 10 hours of operation. So I've been greasing it a lot. I've just been doing a lot of back dragging, a lot of, rolling things with, the bottom of the bucket, big rocks and firewood, large pieces of tree. So there's the first front axle. That's the old one. I do have a newer one on here, and it's been holding up pretty good. I've put a few 100 hours on it already. But I've been running it without the loader. I've just been using the landscape rake. I did buy this new, unfortunately. I was trying to find a used one, and I just wasn't finding, that wasn't 3 or more hours away. But it was kind of banged up sitting out in the yard at the farm store, and I asked them to take some off, and they did. So I didn't totally get killed retail price wise, but yeah, it's more than what I could have found a nice used one for. This is the tractor I've borrowed. This is a Branson. This is a 35, 36-ish horsepower tractor. And it is a beast compared to my little guy over there. It's got more knobs and controls than I know what to do with. And it's got a lot bigger bucket on it. So that's been nice. We've been filling this with a lot of the smaller rocks that we've raked out. We've filled this bucket, and then this is about a 7-foot bucket, I think. We filled this over a dozen times, I'm sure. But no problems with this. I've been greasing the loader for them. And of course the metal here is twice as thick as my tractor. This is 1/4 inch easy. It's only 1/8 of an inch on mine. But I don't know what year this Branson is. I want to say it's probably a 2018 or something. It's a nice tractor. There's things I like about it and things I don't like about it. It seems really tight to get on compared to my tractor, even though this is a much bigger tractor. I gotta make sure the lever's in a certain range, so this lever's out of my way. And I stand up, this column tilts, but it doesn't tilt far enough. You know, I need really the steering wheel to tilt like in a car or a truck. You know, this is just in my way as soon as I stand up. Got a nice air ride seat. That's nice. The cup holders I like better than the ones on my tractor. Diesel fuel tank is down low. Makes it a little easier to fill. Four-wheel drive, of course. Bigger, just an overall bigger tractor. Much bigger tires on it. And they're fresher tires, newer tires. My edges are pretty worn off since I've had this. I've been working it hard down in the sand and gravel. So, yeah. Some people would say that's still new looking, but to me, I got chunks missing out of them. Doesn't have as good as traction as it first did when I got it, and I got it with about 250 hours on it. But all I did was change fluids. I had to replace the front axle when the four-wheel drive went out. And the motor mounts, which are just sheet metal motor mounts. I don't have the old ones here, I scrapped them. But they had to be replaced when that front axle got replaced. Because the guy was having trouble getting the new front axle up there, and he realized that the motor was dropped. And then he had to replace the motor mounts. I kind of suspected there was some kind of issue because the cooling fan on the engine, the front of the engine, was rubbing on the shroud now and then. And I thought, well, the shroud is plastic. It must be something with the shroud is misaligned or deformed, you know. And it's rubbing on the fan. And the fan was just plastic. I got a new fan, but I didn't want to replace it until I found out why the fan was rubbing. Well, found out why the fan was rubbing when had the front axle replaced, and he had to replace the motor mounts. It still has that little rubbed fan still on the engine. I haven't put the new fan on yet. That's something I have to get taken care of. When he did the motor mounts, for some reason, the side covers over the engine compartment aren't back on right. When I put the hood down, it doesn't want to cover that one side. So I'm sure he had to take the sides off to do the motor mounts, and something just got tightened up at the wrong time there. They're just plastic sides. Got a plastic hood. I think these back fenders are even plastic. See, the previous owner did a repair on a crack there. And I don't mind those parts being plastic. They're just, covers. Now on this Branson here, and I don't think Branson is in existence anymore. I think they were bought by TYM, I think. This is all sheet metal. The hood, the dash, fenders. So but that's what's going on nowadays. There's a skid over there. I'm gonna flip that over and hook it to the back of this tractor and drag it around to try to level it out some more. If the weight of the skid isn't enough, I think I'll throw those ramps on there. I drag my ramps around, but I don't want to be dragging the paint off them and stuff. So I'm just going to use the skid, not that big of an area, and just go with that. Let's get some of the roly-poly out of there. Oh, I made it that far without the skid coming disconnected from the chain. When I was hooking the chain up, I just happened to find a wire there laying on the ground, so I divided that wire in half and wired the hooks to the chain so they wouldn't come undone. Let's see how far I get now. Hasn't come unhooked yet. Well, that's what dragging the skid around did. It scraped up mostly the vegetation and sticks and things. some of the larger rocks. It was a whole lot better than trying to rake all that out with a manual rake. I am going to go over this whole area with a manual landscape rake. So I think a lot of the rocks got buried now under this fine powdery topsoil, but it did get a lot of piles that have vegetation and rocks mixed in, and I just have those in certain locations now so I can get a lot of it from those areas rather than going over the whole thing and picking all that up. I got a pile down there. Got piles by the bird houses. I'll show you the skid. Worked out pretty well. Cheap man's land plan, I guess. I was pulling it off by hand like you saw, and then after a while I just started picking up the whole skid like this, dumping it off, pulling this off to the side, dropping it down, and then driving off. I did that probably, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 times. And that's how I got all these piles that are spread around now. But like I said, it's not all spread throughout the whole universe. In certain locations, now I just have to rake these piles out, get the debris and the rocks out of there. So yeah, I think it worked pretty good.